Here it is. Welcome to the Ground Zero podcast.
How are you doing?
Cheers for
Thanks
giving
for
me your
having me.
time.
Yeah,
Cheers.
that's all right. Absolute pleasure. Good day for it. Evening. It's lovely.
It's a lovely evening, and what a fantastic backdrop you've got.
Well, I basically do live in the woods, so kind of all right. I'm just trying to get as far away from the kids as possible so they don't scream the house down, to be honest.
I try and do that just in general. Nah, they're in there with their mates, so they're chilling. The missus is dealing with that while I come down here in my happy place.
Oh, nice. So you're out in a shed or something,
I'm
or are
in my
you just
shed,
down?
yeah, literally, aka the Shedio, the shed
Oh, nice.
slash studio. It
My,
looks
I was gonna have a little like kind of adventure shed where I'd be like thinking of ideas to do and all this sort of stuff. And then my wife made me give it an embarrassing lick of paint, so now it just looks like a potting place. So
as long as it looks manly on the inside.
yeah,
It,
it looks like a chalet on the inside. It's great.
that's awesome. That's awesome. But yeah, genuinely, thank you very much for giving me your time to come on and have a little fucking chat with me.
That's all right. As I say, it's my first ever time on a podcast, so hopefully I do it
But
justice.
yeah, I'm sure you will. We'll get into the adventures in a minute. But I believe we've got a mutual friend in Jake Gardner, I believe.
Yeah. I went climbing with him recently in Scotland. Actually, did a bit of winter climbing. I'd done one the season before with him actually. So yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah, he's a good lad. He's a good lad. Yeah, definitely.
Ex-military.
Yeah, well, so some say the best are ex-military, but others may differ.
No.
so, so what sort of turned you to the adventure stuff?
Oh, it's quite hard to say, really. I think I've always had it in me. It's just when you're young and you have to go out and earn money, and you're kind of thinking of other ways your life might go. You kind of have to put it on a bit of a back burner.
Yeah, I know what
And
you
then
mean.
I just decided I was working in a job. I didn't really like it too much, and it was quite corporatey, and that wasn't really what I wanted to be in a big organization and stuff. And yeah, just kind of just threw away the company car, got rid of a good wage, and just decided to literally move to North Wales to live on my friend's floor and train to be a raft guide. And then it sort of just spiraled from there, really. I
Yeah,
ended up doing my mountain leading, rock climbing instructing, ski instructing, and then it was just going all over the world, leading mountain adventures and expeditions and working in the UK as well. And then even doing some outdoor work in some like centers as you first start out. And then kids come along and then you just want to push yourself because time's a bit restricted. So
yeah, definitely.
just kept spiraling really. Yeah, and I'd set up a business as well. So I was kind of working on that on the side as well to make some extra money because you can't make too much in the outdoors when you first start.
Yeah,
My bosses in London thought I was like crazy, but
I bet they
said I'd
fucking did.
come back, but never gone back. So I'm pretty happy with that. Try and keep myself out of a real job and real life for as long as possible.
A real job working at 9 to 5, but that that
Uh,
is- that takes that takes a hell of a lot of balls to just go right. No, fuck this. Especially if you're earning a decent wage, but being stuck on that hamster wheel, as they say, is it can be a bit soul destroying. So fucking full
Oh, it's
props to
just
you on that.
brutal. I was sort of working 8 till 8, 6 days a week, grafting as hard as I could. And I just, yeah, you get a good pay packet, but it is just numbers really. And you can sort of do that anyway without having to just earn 10% commission from
Yeah, yeah,
sales or whatever it is you're doing. So you can kind of earn a lot more if you want, if you take a few more risks. And that's what I did. I kind of walked away from that. I then, on the side, as I say, set up a bit of a property company. So I started to buy and then flip and use investors' money and started to do that as well. And then when I was just bored of builders and they were either like trying to tear my hair off or put a fist to me, I'd then get back in the outdoors and have a bit of fun, a bit of playtime. So I just kind of shared my time between the two,
yeah.
and did that on my own houses as well. So kept flipping them and still continue to because I don't know. You don't want that spark, that almost that little bit of
Yeah, you
fire
don't
to go
you
out.
don't want to lose your fire, definitely,
No, and
definitely
it's
not.
the same with the adventures. You kind of do something a bit more testing, and then you're like, oh, well, I made it through that. Like, oh,
Yeah,
I'll have a go at something else. So I don't know. It kind of the reason why I got into adventures, I guess as a kid, I was doing walking and stuff like that. But to be honest, the outdoors, I really found it myself. I mean, yeah, the other side of my life, my dad was a carpenter, mum was a hairdresser, so I was all on sites with them. So I wanted to learn about properties that renovated them and that kind of thing. But the adventure side was just me, just found it totally myself and just
Just had it,
embraced
had
it.
your own little
And you just
calling,
meet some
really.
cracking people along the way.
Yeah, I bet. But it's like a calling sort of thing. Like it was just there, and the
Yeah, yeah,
stars
and
aligned,
it's
and
just a passion. I just love it. I just love stepping into that almost unknown, not sure whether that's unknown areas or unknown to my body to see how far I can push it. I kind of like that, and I don't know. From some friends sort of tell me that I can sort of suffer well as well, which I don't know if that's a blessing or a
you can
curse,
suffer
but
well.
yeah, maybe.
Well, not with a cold, you can apparently. You big wimp.
Yeah, no, not too much anyway. But yeah, it's just something I enjoy really.
There's a lot of growth, and there's a lot you can learn about yourself when you put yourself in environments that are testing. And it's always like that old saying, like you got to embrace discomfort to find your true self, really. And so
Yeah, definitely.
full
And even
props
when
to
I
you
was
on
an instructor, doing instructing, and I still do a bit of instructing, taking groups out and stuff. It's amazing to see how different these people are when they're out of the office or out of their school, and they're in this different environment. And those who come good, and those who become leaders in it. And it's just great to push people and see how far they can kind of go. And I just didn't want to rest at being just an instructor, because then those instructors, sometimes there's some amazing ones out there, but there's some who don't want to push themselves as well. So they're
Yeah,
prepared to
yeah,
push
definitely.
others. Be willing to put your own neck on the block and sort of
It's
go for it yourself.
yeah, yeah, definitely getting comfortable is a killer, I think. Like once you get set and comfortable in a situation, you're always going to go, well, I'll resort to default. I'm quite happy here. A
Yeah,
bit like you said, you were earning a decent wage, but you're on the hamster wheel and you weren't really doing what you wanted to do, and you literally took a
yeah,
massive jump and stepped into that unknown. And fucking fair play. That is a big old jump, and it's fucking awesome, mate.
yeah.
And
It was
getting
pretty
out
scary,
getting out in
to
the
be honest.
outdoors even better.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's yeah. I loved it, and so I just freelanced in the outdoors, and then I'd work on my own sort of jobs on the side, sort of thing. Little daughters come down,
Yeah.
really broken. But no, it's yeah, it was really scary. And before you've got anything going, and people don't even know you in the outdoors, so you can't really get work that easy.
Yeah,
You've got to
yeah.
put yourself out there. But I don't know, I kind of like that element of backs to the wall,
Mm.
having to you're forced to go out of your comfort zone and go find the work, go make it happen. And yeah, it's good. It's good fun.
So what was the first challenge that you sort of set yourself in terms of like an actual personal challenge?
I think, well, basically, it was a marathon. My dad I'd always seen his little marathon, London Marathon medal, as a kid growing up. So I kind of thought, oh, what's that all about? I didn't really like running, to be fair. I did it as a kid and I was kind of okay at it, but even at school, I'd sort of do everything to kind of get out of it. Sometimes,
Yeah,
pretend we'd
yeah.
bang, we wouldn't have to run the cross country and all the rest of it. But I just decided to do that, and I kind of set myself a challenge of trying to do it sub 3, like in my head, just because everybody was telling me you can't do that, it's impossible. Like my
Yeah.
cousin was saying James Cracknell's tried X amount of times, da. And then I did it on my first marathon. I was just like, holy shit, that was good. And then I got in the good for age the next year, and then I was like, well, I've weaned most of my sponsorship. I'd sort of I'd really asked a lot of people, so I thought, how can I make it a bit better? And so I ran dressed as a leprechaun for a Guinness World Record, because I just thought, wow,
Why
it
not?
seems a bit ridiculous. So why not have a crack?
You got to have the luck of the Irish on your side if you're going to run as a
Oh
leprechaun.
man, there's so many Irish people out there who gutted that I was English having a go at this. But
I bet they
the
were.
crowd around me, I was running with these people. There was Jensen Button and James Cracknell were right on my tail. Sort of, I was keeping them at bay for a bit, and then 25 miles or something in, then my leg just pulled, and I was like, oh,
No.
and I just was stopped, and the crowd sort of, oh, you know, because they'd all been cheering me like this little leprechaun. I had to dye my beard ginger, big three-piece suit on, hat on. I didn't realize I'd lose salts and stuff like this, so I didn't think cramp would be a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just cramped up,
Didn't plan on
and
that one.
that was at a point of I was like, kind of, do I walk? Do I stop? Everyone else has ran past me, which is totally fine because you know they're running their own race. And then I had to run the last 2 miles completely straight legged, but trying not to cramp myself again, just to get this record because it was 3:10, so it's still fairly fast. And thankfully I was able to get it and just get under the 3 hours as well. So that was kind of a challenge. And then I did, you know, like
you had
do
extra challenges on top of yourself. That's fucking madness. And dressed
yeah.
as a leprechaun in your three-piece suit.
Oh yeah. It was kind of funny, but I've had things. I mean, I've failed as well. I tried as a mountain climber, and that didn't go so well because I did no prep for it. But I've yeah. Then you just do a half Ironman, then you do a full Ironman, then you kind of like, what's the next thing? And then yeah, kind of through. Yeah, my mum said I'd gone from the sublime to the ridiculous, going from like South Kensington in London to North Wales with all the sheep, and I just loved it though. And
there's no harm in going to God's country now. There's no harm in going to God's country.
It was cracking. Yeah, and I've got some of my best friends from North Wales now, so
Oh, that's good.
yeah,
You mentioned something then that I just want to like sort of pick out. You said you failed a climb. Now, did you class it as a failure, or do you class it more as a lesson? Because obviously most people go, "Well, I failed. I'm not going to do it again." But clearly, you
no,
continue to go on. So you just
yeah,
take the lessons out of it, a bit more prep, as they say,
Oh
preparation
my
for
God. Yeah.
physical performance.
If anybody knows me, they know that I just throw myself into things. I don't often think it through too much.
Yeah,
Just go for it. And that I just didn't even train for. The boots were the stiffest mountaineering boots you could get. And they
break 'em
weighed,
in.
and literally I hadn't run in them. I hadn't even walked in them. And I just bought them new and was just like, oh, I'll have a go. But it was kind of for the wrong reasons as well, because I'd got the good for age time, so I could keep getting back in. I decided that one would be like, it would take like 5 or 6 hours, so it was clearly gonna like knock me for six, and I wouldn't get the good for age again. And that's kind of like a bit of a stupid reason to even try it, but I thought, oh, I'll try it anyway. And then I got to 15 miles in, saw my dad in the crowd, and switched to his trainers because I knew the record was gone anyway, and I just thought, oh, I'm just gonna run this one home. And yeah, massive lack of prep, which sometimes I've learned from, I'd like to think, but I think you can't, if you over prepare, I don't know, like you sometimes can take that sense of adventure away sometimes.
Yeah, I get what
don't
you're
know,
saying
that
with that.
sounds stupid. Like I don't want to know everything about the course and everything about,
No, you need to have a little surprise and a little, well, just
yeah.
a little, even when you're doing events like you're climbing and things like that, like taking in the sort of atmosphere and the surroundings around you. Like the London Marathon is the fucking London Marathon, and it is, personally, I'm not a big fan of London anyway. I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
But going out in the mountains and seeing the spectacular views that you can see, even if you're in a race, it's like, wow, this is fucking mint. This is.
Oh, it's epic. I mean, there's been some like expeditions I've led when like climbing up some 4,000 meter peaks in Ecuador, and then you get to the top. It's an absolutely honking. The weather's just come in. You're on this like crater. You're trying to find this village somewhere where you're supposed to stay, and it was just awful. We couldn't find the place. Then we found the place. Everyone took their wet clothes off, put them over this kind of almost flue, this chimney flue.
Yeah.
We didn't realize there was little kids come in, then light the fires. So then obviously they're smoking their jackets. And then the windows,
Yummy.
which you think are windows, aren't windows. So you can't open them. So it's smoking all in their room. And then they like tried to feed us, but they fed us from the other end of the table and it was self-serve. So our guys kind of got nothing. So then I had to, and then they all just went. And so I had to kind of break into the kitchen, try and get some food, found a few beers, which made a few people happy. And then like
bit of
just found these
morale.
gerbils in there, which they'd obviously been feeding us. And guinea pigs, sorry. And yeah, and then the next morning the people refused to pay. And then we got like machetes coming at us from the villagers, trying to like force them to pay. It's just crazy. But like that is just
I
part
bet
of
in the moment that was horrendous, but afterwards you're like, what a fucking story this is.
Oh yeah, then I had to load the whole team onto the back of a jeep to then like just escape because we were supposed to stay at the base of this beautiful lake in the middle of the volcano, but they were all too scared because they were like they're just going to machete me. So yeah, so we just had to make a great escape. It was cool, but yeah, it's just part of the job when you're leading them people.
Yeah, I bet.
They're kind of your clients, but yeah, it's part of it.
What got you into rowing?
Oh, kayaking. Oh, bloody hell. Well, what
Kayaking.
did? I mean, I'm from the Midlands, so I guess the desire to be near the sea is just always there. And yeah, it's from being in Wales. Then you do the raft guide, and then I was kayaking, throwing myself down rivers before sessions, which I probably shouldn't have been paddling. And then you get on the sea, and the sea's just vast, and it's
Yeah.
just epic. And some people don't like it. Some people even think for it to me, the sea just it is so changeable and it's always moving and it's such a big body and you literally can't beat that thing. That yeah, it's pretty awesome. Like paddling around Anglesey, some of the stacks, and I've had some epics. I tell you, out in like Lundy Island with people and off Ramsey Island and getting stuck, people leaving. Yeah, I've had a few,
Yeah, I bet.
epics.
Yeah, the only thing I ever really did kayaking wise and canoeing wise, I did a thing when I was doing my BTEC at college in sports science, and we went to Lake Windermere. It was part of our fucking thing. Um, and when I first got in, I was fucking awful. The amount of times that
It's hard.
I couldn't fucking balance. So every time I got in, it would capsize, and I'm like, and I would just get the By the end of the week, though, I was flying. I was like, I'm fucking awesome at this. Fucking yes. It's
Yeah.
fucking knackering though. It is.
Oh
Phew.
yeah, it's
And
tiring.
that's on a lake, let alone like the open sea.
Yeah, I know. I've kind of got desires to do more on the ocean, really, like do some bigger stuff. But yeah, I know you've spoken to a couple of like big ocean rowers and stuff. So I'm kind of teased, but I do like kayaking because you're sort of looking forward and you can see what's coming and you can kind
Yeah,
of
yeah,
embrace it and go with the waves and stuff. So I don't know, kind of we'll see what comes of it. But I do love it. I do love it out on the sea.
yeah. I'll have to get you in contact with Jack, who I had on last week, who rode
Yeah,
from Portugal to Miami in his little
unbelievable.
single man canoe, which is
I
crazy.
know.
Give me 2 seconds. One of my fucking creatures has turned my plug off. My lights. So my light. I've only got one light on. Give
That's
me
so
two
funny.
secs.
That's absolutely fine.
There we go.
You can see again.
Yeah, it's madness. Creatures. Fucking school holidays is a pain in my ass.
Yeah, they're
Should be
everywhere,
in
aren't they?
bed now.
Yeah.
Easter's coming. Easter's coming.
Hey, the bunny's already been, I think. We've eaten all the chalk.
Have you?
I had to apologize actually because my sister had left hers here and I texted her
God,
tonight being like, I'm so sorry that's not gonna see the light of day. It's already been under siege tonight. She's
yeah,
like, you're kidding.
yeah. The worst thing I done recently was would have been one. It was either last year or the year before. So my eldest is, she's 11. She'll be 12 this year. So she was sort of on the cusp of learning that certain things aren't real. And we were talking about the Easter Bunny, and I went, "Yeah, well, I almost got caught when I put the Easter eggs out last year, and I carried on walking. And I was like, I've just fucking ruined Easter now." Luckily, my youngest still believes in it all, but I was like, "Fuck's sake!" And then she was like, "Does that mean the other things aren't real, like Santa?" And I was like, "Oh God, speak to your mum. Speak
Dream
to your mum
killer.
before I ruin your childhood."
Yeah, no, that's it. Fair play.
One of the things that I do really, really want to chat to you about. because it fascinates me. I'd never be able to do it, and that's obviously you climbed Everest.
Yeah.
That's mental.
Yeah, yeah. It's tough as well. It's actually, it gets a bit of poor press and stuff, Everest, because of it's had queues on it and it does cost a bit to do it and stuff like that. But I don't know, I kind of think anyone who's a mountaineer who loves the mountains, like how can you not want to climb the biggest mountain?
Yeah, it's like a rule, isn't it?
It doesn't matter how technical, untechnical, how busy. But for me, to be honest, it's all about getting out in the mountains and not having loads of people around you. So that was my only worry, was there'd be a lot of people on there and a lot of people who didn't sort of know what they were doing or have any sort of training or mountain skills. But it actually turned out pretty epic, to be fair, because it was so quiet. There's only 300 permits issued for the whole season, so that means during the whole season, there's only 300 people allowed to go to the summit. And we had a few weather windows as well. So, of course, the Westerners all fly up on the first one because they all just want to get it done. And that's kind of the type of people we all are as Westerners, really. Like, there's no like, oh, just kick back, relax, wait. But it was a massive race, to be honest, because my wife was pregnant. She was due to give birth on the 1st of June, and the trip was till the 6th of June. So I had to kind of roll the dice and book an early flight because I thought I can't book a flight after the birth of my daughter. So yeah, went for it.
Is it your firstborn or?
No, second.
Don't worry about it.
The first was even more of a mental birth, I tell you, but that's a different story. But yeah, no, it was just pretty epic. So race to get back. But I did suffer. I mean, it's hard. Like even Kenton Cool, who's done it so many times, I saw him in Camp 1. He's like, I've got a stonking headache. I was like, thank God you have, because you climbed this thing like 15 times. So how do you think I'm feeling? But yeah, it was good. My blood oxygen was really low though in Camp 2 on the first time up. Which was unbelievably low, 57% blood in the oxygen. It was just ridiculous. And a couple of people had already turned around. Some had sort of walked away, and then you go back down and sort of wait after going to Camp 3. And Camp 3, I was pretty euphoric because I was kind of like, I've gone higher than I'd ever been. I'd been 6,000 meters a few times, but I hadn't been any further. And I'd always wanted to do an 8,000 meterer, but I think my wife always thought I'd sort of like give in and forget, that I'd said I wanted to do it, but I was like, no,
that's etched in, mate. That's that.
I told her this before I married her. But yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. So I waited for a later window because she's quite chill with my wife. She was kind of like, it feels as though the baby's still in there. So no, just wait and go when you want to go a bit later because it'll be quieter. So I was like, okay. But you're hearing all the like people who are celebrating in the camp as you're about to go up through this bloody ice fall, which is just moving sheet of ice and glaciers, which just the route's changeable through it. That is the mental bit, to be fair. But then going up higher onto the summit ridge on the summit day, it was just me, and I'd climbed from Camp 3 to Camp 4, Camp 2 to Camp 3, Camp 3 to Camp 4, like on my own, which was awesome because there was just no one around. It was just epic. And I just didn't think I'd be climbing like the Yellow Band Geneva Spur with nobody in sight. But then that summit day, I had a Sherpa because that's when they get their big bonus is you give them bonus. And to be fair, they deserve it. They're like hauling everything up that mountain, like 4 people to
Nepalese on, don't fuck about.
And the food. They're just like heroes on the hill, to be honest. But you get to this summit ridge, and I was trying to avoid looking for dead people because they're there, but you don't kind of want to let it stifle you and let it affect you. And I'd got to the South Summit, which is the iconic South Summit where like the film Everest, that's where there's a few deaths go on with Rob Hall and stuff. But you can see the ridge and it just looked beautiful. There was no one on it. The sun was just starting to rise. And then just on the ridge line, like 2 meters down, there's this dead guy just completely horizontal like this with his helmet on, his goggles on, like laying out, looking at the mountains out there. Like he wasn't like the traditional dead person on Everest, like who's kind of just, just fallen and slumped and like he like decided that was his spot, I swear. And you kind of,
as though as he's got up there, he's gone, I ain't getting back down.
Yeah,
I might
yeah.
I might as well just
It
enjoy
was
this.
bizarre. Yeah, it was
Fuck.
bizarre, and you're just kind of like, I don't want to look, but I can't help but looking. And then my crampon slipped because it was on some rock, so I'm then falling towards the dead guy. There's so many lines there, you're not even sure which one to clip onto. So I just grabbed onto the rock, was like, holy shit, I really need to sort my head out now. Like I
Yeah,
cannot go.
yeah.
He's sort of smelling a little bit. So got pulled myself back on, and that was like near the Hillary step, and then sort of trudged to the summit, and it was just me and him there for we stayed for about an hour. It was just epic,
Oh, I
and it
was
was
going to
just
say, how long do you stay up there?
yeah, stayed up for about an hour because there was a couple of my friends who weren't that far behind. We'd kind of been a bit of a team of six working it for a while,
Got ya.
and then they just slowed, and so I just waited for them on at the summit and let them have their moment. Like we just shared it, embraced it. It's just kind of special. I'm going climbing tomorrow with one of the guys I summited Everest with, which is cool to just still be in contact with him and just
That's crazy.
know him. It's just such a moment we'll both share.
But what a fucking achievement as well. I
Yeah,
climbed
thanks. I
the
mean, it was just,
biggest
yeah,
mountain. I
yeah,
climbed the biggest mountain.
yeah.
I made it my bitch.
Oh no, no, you don't make that. It's no, it's really hard. It's not that easy. Like, and especially when it's your first 8,000er, because you don't. It's that you don't know how you're going to
I
perform.
think people need to take note of that. Right, an experienced climber has just said, right, it's not that easy, because the amount of
No.
people that look at it and go, well, you're just walking up a hill.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
not though.
Steep hill. And if you fall down that hill, like you're in trouble. But I
Uh,
think yeah, it gets a bit of bad press. There's obviously some people, that summit day is epic. If you like love mountaineering, like it's got a gentle slope, steep slope, it's got rocks, like about quite a few rocky pitches you sort of climb. Obviously, it's fixed lines, so you're not like traditionally climbing, which does open it up, and in a way that would be the thing you'd kind of like, that it didn't have like fixed lines everywhere, but ultimately it brings a lot of tourism to the place. And if you want to go climb hard with no fixed lines, just get yourself up to Scotland in the winter or go to
yeah,
the Alps. It's kind of easy to do it, but all the 8,000ers have them, and it is for the safety as well, because if you do slip, you can just be, you're just done. But yeah, it was epic. Yeah,
yeah.
the
You
summit
don't
day
want to.
was
You don't want to
summit
be a
was
giant snowball rolling down the hill. Put it that way.
no, I mean it's just horrendous. I watched some stuff on like K2 recently and stuff, and they're just like just falling. That 2008 accident was just awful. Just yeah, horrific. Just slide off, you're gone.
Well gone. What
Brutal.
was the view like at the top?
Oh, it was amazing. To be fair, like yeah, I
Top of
have
the,
actually put it on
literally
my
on top of the
Instagram. You
world.
can see it. You can see it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I got my GoPro out because everything freezes. So on that summit day, you can't really take any pictures because the battery just dies so quickly. But
Hmm.
my oxygen was sort of dripping, like just here, like the hot water, the hot air I was producing, and it drips onto your zip, so your zip's completely closed. And I'd put my sort of GoPro inside, and I had to properly like hack at it at the top to get it open because it was just not opening. Yeah, and just got a bit of footage from the top, but the view is awesome, and I just wanted to take it in anyway before getting any like sort of footage as well, just to really embrace that moment, because I'm probably not going back up there again anytime soon.
Yeah, because it's not the cheapest thing in the world, is it?
No, no, definitely. It costs a bit, but I kind of went, to be honest, it was a bit of a lower end thing we'd done, like you can have oxygen early, you can have tents you can stand up in, you can have all sorts of like showers and this, that, and the other. But I went fairly basic with it. So it wasn't cheap, but it wasn't an expensive like
I
way of
got you.
doing it, which
But
was
still,
cool.
what a thing to tick off, especially in your
Yeah.
in your line of work as a sort of a mountaineer and a expedition leader and things like that. To have
Yeah.
summit Everest on your little CV that you hand out.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah, no, it's
who
pretty
are you
cool.
going to trust? Are you going to trust Joe Bloggs, who climbs Penny Fan every now and then, or are you going to trust a guy that summited Everest?
Yeah, and that's where it goes back to that instructor thing that I kind of, when I was looking at these people who are like the top level, I was kind of
Mm,
like, well, have you been out in the Andes? Have you been to the Himalayas? Have you really tested yourself? I know you can take
mm.
other people up stuff you're comfortable with, but can you really like push yourself? And And some of them were like, no, 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 they can name every climb in bloody North Wales or Scotland, which
Yeah.
is epic. But
Uh,
I don't know, kind of just felt like I wanted to try it to see how I could go.
yeah,
But
that's
it
taken
gets you
us,
going. You want to do more.
definitely. It's taken us back full circle with the. You got to embrace the discomfort and actually get out and test yourself physically and mentally. You know, what you did isn't just a physical challenge. You have to mentally be prepared to climb that fucking mountain. And
Oh
damn it,
yeah, I mean,
be
you could give in. You could give in quite easily. There was a few people they didn't go up past base camp.
mm,
You know, there's a couple, but you kind of my main tip for anyone who's going to try and climb at altitude is just drink. You just need to drink water, and that will stop you from getting them bad high altitude sicknesses. And eat food. Just force it down because
yeah.
your body's working overtime the whole
Of
way.
course, with the lack of oxygen, your body's working, as you said, overtime. It's really putting itself through the ringer. So it's going to need that substance to get it
Yeah,
through.
yeah, definitely. But you kind of get used to it after a while, like living at 5,000 odd meters for a long time and 6,000 meters. It's kind of cool, really. Yeah, it's a good environment.
Oh, your body does adapt, which is the crazy thing about the human body. It does adapt, and there's fighters and other sort of athletes that train at altitude, so that when they come down to sea level, they've got that extra red blood
Yeah,
cells in their system to go that little bit further. And well, I was actually surprised that there aren't more Nepalese fucking athletes
yeah, yeah.
when
I
I
know what
think
you
about
mean.
it.
I think maybe it's a bit of like opportunities as well. It's kind of quite a
Yeah,
deprived country, to be fair. And yeah, they always win the like Everest marathon and stuff though, like that one where they
yeah,
run like
that's
most of the way
mental.
down.
The
Yeah,
Everest marathon, that is
it's
mental.
yeah, yeah. I've met a few people who've done it, and yeah, it doesn't matter who you are. Everybody will perform worse at altitude, and that's the
Oh, of
thing. You
course.
can't really get across to people who say, "Oh, I've walked up the stairs as if I climbed Everest. I've done this." It's like it's the altitude which is the pain. Do you know? That's what
Yeah,
hurts the most. Yeah.
yeah.
So
But
that's
did you lose a lot of focus when you were out there? Obviously, because obviously, like we said, the lack of oxygen. So your brain's obviously going to go through some sort of brain
yeah,
fog.
yeah. It's kind of yeah. It's kind of weird. It's kind of weird, but I mean, some people did really suffer. They like lost vision in their eyes. They like got frostbite. They needed dragging down. Some of our team, but I kind of felt like I'd come into my own on the summit day.
Mm.
So coming up from camp 2 to 3, four, because earlier in camp 2, I was not in a good way. Like everyone had sort of got delly belly and was meeting
Oh,
at like half
lovely.
awful, awful. I tell you, getting out of your warm sleeping bag because you know you've got to go sort this out at 3:30 with -30 outside, and getting into the down suit just to go out there, and then seeing a queue for this like toilet. I mean, it was just funny. All just like pissed ourselves because we were just kind of like, how is this happening right now on our summit?
It's not like when you're out in the Bondu, as we would say. It's not like you're gonna dig a hole because you just
No.
freeze your ass.
Oh,
Literally,
yeah,
you
literally.
can...
It's just brutal. It's like brutal conditions. When I think to that camp too, I just think that's bloody hellhole that place. But no, it was really cool. It was an epic. It was a really cool one. But that's why I wanted to do the sea kayak because I wasn't planning on doing a sea kayak. It was just my friend had sent me this thing saying this fire something an ice challenge or something. It's fire rock and ice or something challenge. And some guy from Greece had took like 16 years to do the Marathon des Sables, Everest, and then swim the English Channel.
Yeah.
So I kind of looked into it. I was like, oh, for God's sake, Ozzy, why have you sent me this? Because I love a challenge and I am a bit competitive. So I'm like, fuck, I've done two. And this guy took 16 years to do them. And I was kind of like, well, I could probably wrap that up inside a year. And the channel people were kind of like, no, you can't get on for 2 years. I spoke to them, kind of persevered with them. And she was like, oh, there's a slot come up in September if you want it. But I was like, what does that involve? And they basically said just throwing loads of like wax all over you and then go swim the channel, pay 5 grand to be piloted by a boat. And I was kind of like, that doesn't sound like me. I've just come back from Everest where you have
Yeah,
Sherpas and a few helpers. I want something raw.
yeah,
So
and something
that's when I
to
was like,
claim
I'm
as
just
your
going to
own.
get in my kayak and
Yeah,
just paddle a bit of the Irish Sea, the North Channel. So that's when I was just like, I just want to do that. It's just me, the sea. There's no tracker. There's no GPS. There's no nothing. There's just me. I'm trying to get from point A to point B with my compass, with my map, just bare basics. And that was pretty sick, actually. And then I was the first to have done that, them three. So I was pretty happy
Well,
with
there we go.
that.
Gosh, smashing it. Have you got anything else lined up in the pipeline for the future?
Yeah, I mean, I think I will be doing an ocean row at some point. I can't kind of resist. I've not even done rowing, but I think I'm going to go and speak to these people to see if I could get a kayak because I know no one from the UK has ever kayaked a big ocean, but I know it's been done by a Polish guy. But yeah, I'd be interested to try and look into that. And there's other mountains I'd like to do as well, but it's kind of also finding that fine balance between keeping a wife happy, two
Yeah,
kids
yeah.
over their head, and itching, scratching my own itches. So
Definitely.
yeah, I kind of I'll keep them going for sure, but I also want to be taking my kids out doing stuff as well and pushing them.
Oh, yeah.
Um, cool.
You
But
got to
yeah,
start them
I'll,
young.
I'll never stop. I'll never stop. This is the problem with me. It's the
Yeah.
same with the house stuff. I never stop. It's the same with this adventure. I just can't help
It's a
myself.
good thing. It's a good thing to have. It's a good thing to have because obviously, you don't want to be stuck in the rut. You don't want to be stuck going, "What the fuck? I'm on a
No,
board
no, I
now."
never let myself get too comfortable like that. That's it.
Well, again,
I'm doing
got to brace discomfort.
yeah, I don't know. Yeah, yeah, just something about it. You just grow a bit, don't you? And you gain more confidence from just doing things which you think were not possible for you. And then you just go through that pain and then realize, "Oh, that was hard." But then the hardest things are always the best things because they're always the things you remember.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely,
and
definitely, and
yeah,
they're the things that will stick with you for the rest of the time. You can get on with all the easy bits. It's the horrible days that you'll go, God, do you remember this when I was
yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's
when,
just,
when I needed
and
a
that's
shit on Everest and I was cold.
Oh God, there was a guy, there was one of our guys who had that, and he had yeah, it a gust of wind blew it all back
Oh, lovely.
into his downsuit. Horrific. I mean, yeah, the guy suffered. He was a hero, but yeah, he definitely suffered.
Definitely. Well, my man, I know you're not 100% in yourself through your illness that you've got, your little
Oh,
chest
I know.
infection.
Yeah, sorry for having to cancel the other
No,
week.
no,
I
no. It,
a bit
it,
of a
it is
chest.
what it is. I totally understand, and it is what it is. But I just want to take a quick second just to thank you for coming on. We're about to lose the time. I don't want to take up the rest of your evening.
No,
Um,
no, no. Thank you very much. Thanks.
and
Hopefully, it was all right for
no,
you.
thank you, and I'll let you know when this comes out. But cheers again for coming on, and we'll probably do it again after your next adventure.
Definitely. Cheers, bud. Bye
Cheers,
now.
mate. You have a good rest of your evening. Hello. You're at the adverts, so don't turn off. Don't turn off because I've got some good stuff for you. First up, I'm going to talk about our sponsors. Kent CBD is our first sponsor. Now, CBD oil, as you know, has tremendous benefits, especially within mental health and physical health. Personally, I use it to help with my anxiety and my depression, but not only that, I also use it to help with the aches and pains of life in my joints, especially my ankles and my knees. But yeah, without CBD oil, I would have still been on my antidepressant tablets, which I'm no longer on. So, every cloud. And what we're going to do here at Granite Zero is we're going to give you 10% off everything from oil, muscle rub, jellies, bath salts, the lot. Yeah? Make sure you get in there. www.kentcbd.org. Put in the promo code GRANITE0 and get yourself 10% off. You are welcome. But also, if you're like me and you love a nice cup of coffee. Now, for me, I only drink one coffee, and that's Green Beret coffee. Now, I don't only drink it because it's out of this world fucking coffee, roast to order, grinded to whatever specific grind you want. But not only that, it's veteran owned and veteran run, which, hits me right in the feels. So make sure you check it out, Green Beret Coffee. Get yourself a nice cup of coffee. I drink it dark, just like my soul. Incredible stuff, incredible stuff. And what I'm going to give for you, I'm going to give you 10% off. So once you get to the checkout, once you've got all your coffee, your products, your apparel, whatever you need, get to the checkout and put in the promo code GZPodcast10 and get yourself 10% off. Courtesy of the Granite Zero Podcast. You are welcome. Now, that's enough of me talking about this stuff. Back to the regular scheduled show. Check it out!